Chris Bosh, a player with two distinct chapters in his NBA career. The part that everyone remembers, and the one most documented, was Miami, where he teamed up with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade to form what might be the most polarizing team in NBA history. And because LeBron took the spotlight with his league-changing decision, Bosh's move from Toronto often gets swept under the rug. But Bosh himself was one of the league's top players at the time, coming off the best season of his career in Toronto, where he averaged 24 points and 10 rebounds. And although his Miami days will forever be a part of basketball lore, what most people don't appreciate is that his willingness to sacrifice that role and become the third option in Miami showed exactly what he valued most: winning over individual notoriety. So today, we're shining some light on one of the most underappreciated bigs to ever play the game, Raptors era Chris Bosh. Like I always say, I'll never play the meta or make meta builds. So if you do enjoy more of a realistic playstyle in NBA 2K, consider hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like on the video, and in the comment section, let me know what NBA player you would like to see me bring to life next. And all right, you guys, here we go on the screen. As you guys can see, we have our 6'11 Raptors Chris Bosh build. Now this build, it did start out as a no money spent series on my channel. And in the no money spent series, we got up to about an 80 overall without spending a single dime on this build. But then out of nowhere, playing realistically in the random rec with Luka Doncic, that video absolutely took off. And it was pretty clear that that was the direction that I wanted to go with the channel if it was doing well. I really enjoy making those style of videos. So yeah, just kind of wanted to keep the ball rolling. So I did decide to discontinue the no money spent grind on YouTube. But in the background, I have slowly been putting more and more VC into this build just from playing games and stuff like that. And now we have hit 99 overall with our Chris Bosh. So I figured it was finally time we debut this build out there in the random rec and of course play realistically with our Chris Bosh. And I have designed this build to last all year, just like all of my other realistic builds on the channel. So as you guys can see, our close shot, we start out in an 82 overall, but I did go ahead and decide to put 5 cap breakers in there. We're up to a 92 overall on our close shot now, and that does give us gold paint prodigy. For our drive and dunk, we do have an 89 overall. Chris Bosh, he was able to pick up plenty of contact dunks out there when he was on the Raptors as well as the Miami Heat. And then also for our standing dunk, we do have an 85 overall on that. I really do like the 85 overall threshold as well for our standing dunks. Initially, I did plan to put 5 cap breakers in there, but to be honest, 85 is getting it done for us, as you guys are going to see out there in the gameplay today. And in his Miami days, he obviously did get some touches out there in the post, but when he was in Toronto, he was the first option. He was getting tons of post touches out there. So I wanted to make sure that we can replicate that out there in the gameplay today. So we have bumped up our post control all the way up to an 87 overall, and that is going to give us post up poet on the gold level. Moving down a little bit more, you guys can see I put one of our playmaking specialization cap breakers into our passing accuracy, bump it up to a 75 overall. This is a really good threshold because you do get yourself a break starter on the silver level. And now moving over to the defense, I wanted to make sure that we can get some blocks out there with our Chris Bosh build. So I did decide to go with that 77 interior defense, pair it up with that 88 block rating. I did go ahead and throw in 5 cap breakers into our block rating, bump it up to a 93 overall, and that does give us gold paint patroller. Might be a little bit overkill for Chris Bosh. I think the most blocks he ever averaged in a season was like 1.4, so a little bit under 1.5 blocks per game at his peak rim protection ability. But I did want to make sure that we can get some athleticism, really feel the athleticism on this Raptors Chris Bosh build. And then also for the perimeter defense, because we're at the power forward position, sometimes we're going to be matched up against a small forward out there that is much quicker. I do want to make sure that we have the flexibility to put a cap breaker in our perimeter defense in the future. That will bump it up to the 71 overall rating, and that will give us challenger on the bronze level, which obviously will help with the contest on the perimeter. For the rebounding, you guys are probably thinking that that's pretty low for Chris Bosh, but I'm gonna be honest, you guys, 85 overall, you guys are gonna see out there in the gameplay today, pair with our 80 vertical, we're able to snag so many rebounds. I'm able to get double doubles out there, just like Raptors Chris Bosh was averaging. And then as well as you guys can see, to show off that athleticism that Raptors Chris Bosh was playing with, we did with that 79 speed, 72 agility, and then as well, like I said, our 80 vertical. Now moving over to the badges, I haven't unlocked every single max +1 or max 2 slot yet, so these badges will only get better in the future. But you guys can see we are rocking out with that gold box out beast for our Chris Bosh. Deadeye is on the silver level, as well as that post fade phenom. That's going to be on the gold level for that post game with Chris Bosh out there. And thanks to our speed with ball, we also have ourselves lightning launch, which is really nice out of the triple threat, just like he was doing back in Toronto. And because I haven't unlocked every single max +2 or max +1 slot yet, I will throw up a screenshot for you guys just to see one of the possibilities that we can go with this build in the future to replicate Chris Bosh's game even better out there on the court. And moving over to the takeover, this is going to be the first build that I'm going to be using this takeover on for the year. It is called Paint Surgeon. It increases the success rate of our dunks and finishing under the basket, as well as it's easier to beat defenders with post back downs, moves, fakes, and shots. So pretty much a post scoring takeover out there with Chris Bosh. And it's only right because during his time in Toronto, he was obviously getting the ball a bunch in the post as a #1 option. And I did decide just to straight up boost our defensive rebound all the way for the times that we are put at the center position, or even if we're power forward, we want to make sure that we can get double doubles out there or close to doubles with Chris Bosh. And then last but not least, moving over to the animations now, because Chris Bosh, he is a historic player, they do not have any pro play animations for him in the game. They have his free throw and his signature jump shot, which you do unlock at starter 4 level. But personally, I don't think Chris Bosh's jumper in this game, it really doesn't look that much like Chris Bosh. To be honest, I think that he just jumps a little bit too high. So the jumper that I put together, we're going to be going with this one right here. The base is going to be Keita, I think that's how you say his last name. And then we're going to be going with Precious Achiuwa and Chris Bosh as one of the uppers, 40% Chris Bosh that is. And then we're going to be going with normal speed. I personally don't need super fast jumpers out there. I only shoot when I'm open anyway. So yeah, we're just going to be going normal speed on this jumper. And I do think it does give a much better representation of that wide base that Chris Bosh has when he shoots the ball. But yeah, there's a breakdown for our realistic 6'11 Chris Bosh build. Now we have 5 games out there in the random rec, playing like dreadheaded Raptors Chris Bosh. Let's get right into it. And here we go, starting out game #1 of 5 out here in the random rec with our Raptors Chris Bosh build. This was at the peak of his powers. Of course, in Miami, he was probably still capable of doing this, but he decided to take a lesser role, become the 3rd option next to Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. But we're going to be showcasing what it looks a little bit like out here if Chris Bosh had himself more touches as we knocked down our first 3-ball of the game right there. You guys see the custom jumper that we did put together. I feel like the base is wider. We don't jump as high as the Chris Bosh jumper animation that 2K has had in the game for so many years. I know that base, it's very good. A lot of bigs like to use it, but personally, I'm trying to go for realism out here. I feel like the one that we put together, it looks more like Chris Bosh, but of course that is personal preference. As we pick up our first block of the game right there on the perimeter, showcasing we have ourselves some good athleticism on the 6'11 build. And now we're going to get the ball at the top of the key, late in the shot clock. Got to go to that step back right there. That is Pascal Siakam's hop jumper animation. And of course, Chris Bosh, his bread and butter in that mid-range right there, which made him so hard to guard because he can get it done in the post. He had great footwork. He had himself a soft touch and obviously a smooth shooting stroke from the perimeter. So we're going to knock down our first 2 shots from the perimeter out here. And now we're going to pick up our second block of the game. Chris Bosh, he wasn't the most insane rim protector, but he was absolutely capable of picking up blocks with his long wingspan. Obviously, he was 6'11". He played a lot of power forward and center, so want to make sure that we can protect the rim out there. And of course, feel like an athletic, younger version of Chris Bosh when he was rocking the dreads. Now we're going to come up with a big offensive rebound, kick it out, and our teammate misses it wide open. Luckily, we are able to get another shot at it. The ball gets passed around. Teammate's going to knock down a 3-ball as we have ourselves a 3-point lead out here in the second half. Now, Chris Bosh trying to get ourselves another offensive rebound. Center grabs it. We're just going to go out to the corner right there and knock down our second 3-ball of the game with our smooth jumper that we have put together. And now showing a little bit of what Chris Bosh can do off the dribble. We have ourselves a 92 close shot. So if you want to get in the paint, get a pump fake, put up a quick little layup, we can absolutely do that with our Chris Bosh build. And of course, we do have Chris Bosh's free throw animation on that they do have in the game. And we're going to go 2 of 2 at the free throw line with our 79 free throw rating. Now we're going to come up with our 5th rebound of the game. Throw a nice little pass right here with our 75 passing accuracy. And we do get ourselves a nice little relay assist on that possession. But as you guys can see, we already have 5 rebounds in this game. Obviously 85 overall rebounding, not the highest stat, as we get ourselves a nice little post animation right here, using that goal post up poet to our advantage, spinning off the defender. There's nothing that he could do at the power forward position. Probably doesn't have the most interior defense, as we pick ourselves up another block in the paint right there, throw the ball up to the center. The ball's going to get smacked out of bounds. And now Chris Bosh we're going to be looking for it once again at the top of the key where we got our last bucket from. This time, we're going to go with a nice little post fade animation. Last time we spun off him, looked like the defender was trying to prepare for the spin animation once again. We're going to make sure that we're using our nice smooth stroke out here with Chris Bosh as we get ourselves a nice little putback animation right here, coming up with that offensive rebound, 92 overall close shot, putting that one back with ease. And now we do have ourselves takeover active. So of course we got to hop in the post right here, go with a beautiful post fade animation. Once again, that is Pascal Siakam's post fade animation. And I do think it does a pretty good job at replicating Chris Bosh's smooth jumper and smooth moves that he was able to make out of the post throughout his career. And we do pick up ourselves 26 points and 8 rebounds, 3 blocks to go along with it in our first game out here in the random rec. So now jumping right over to game number 2 out here with our Raptors Chris Bosh build. We're going to start this one out exactly where we should be, in the post, get into that post fade animation, knocking down our first jumper of the game. Now we're going to be showcasing that 85 defensive rebound right there, pushing up to it looks like a LaMelo Ball build as he's going to get himself a nice little pass right here as we're cutting off ball, and that's going to be an 80 driving layup on our build. We also have ourselves silver physical finisher on this build, so occasionally it is good just to take that one in, not finish with a meter dunk, and instead use that driving layup to our advantage if we do have ourselves a nice little height mismatch down low like we did there. But now with the game close, currently up by 1, we're going to get the ball in transition right here, go to that hop step, and once again we have ourselves gold paint prodigy on our build, so we can absolutely make use of those pump fakes down low. And now defender falls asleep. Of course we're going to make him pay, spreading the floor out there with Chris Bosh. Now we're going to get the ball here. There's going to be a little double team, so we're going to pass it over to that LaMelo Ball build. We have the ball, we have ourselves a height mismatch. Let's just go with an up and under, get closer to the bucket. No need to fade away and make this shot more difficult than it needs to be. Now defense, once again, they're falling asleep on Chris Bosh. They're not respecting the jumper. Of course we got to make him pay with that smooth jumper right there. I don't think that one was quite a 3 ball. Our feet were on the line, but nonetheless we do knock down that shot right there. As you guys can see, our team has pushed the lead out to 16 points in the 4th quarter. We're going to be wide open off ball again. We're just going to be patient, waiting for it. Eventually LaMelo's going to swing it to us, and we're patiently gonna knock that one down for our 16th point in the corner right there. Now the ball gets swung up for us. We have ourselves a big lead, so why not showcase exactly what this build can do in the post some more. That one was a really deep post fade animation, and we're still able to knock it down for our 18th point on the game. We also finished that one with 6 rebounds. Obviously we didn't get the most touches in that one, but still a really solid game out here from Raptors Chris Bosh. And now sliding over to game number 3, we're going to be starting this one out just 1 minute into the 1st quarter. We're able to pick up our first rebound and assist of the game with that 75 passing accuracy and silver break starter right there. Now off the dribble, you guys going to see a lot. We're going to be using those pump fakes just like Chris Bosh liked to do. A lot of pump fakes, some really good footwork in the paint. It wasn't just all shooting out there with Chris, as we do get ourselves a good little putback off the standing dunk right there. We didn't even use the meter. We're just able to trigger an animation. Now off the dribble once again, try to go to another hop step. We ended up just following through with the layup. We didn't even have to green that one, and it still went in. So a little bit of a bailout from 2K right there. Is now we're going to come up with a nice rebound, immediately get fouled, and we do get to take this transition free throw right here for our 7th point on the game. So now up 5 in the 2nd quarter with 2 minutes left till halftime. We're going to pick up our 5th rebound of the game, throw the ball up to our teammate who is wide open on the wing. 85 defensive rebound out here, going to be boosted up big time with our takeover. Once again, that is going to be the only attribute that we're going to be boosting with our takeover. So it goes all the way up to, I believe, a 95 overall rating, which is huge. Now we're going to pick up an offensive board, swinging out to our teammate, doing all the dirty work out here. That looks a little bit more like Miami Chris Bosh. I'm sure he was also kicking the ball out a good amount in Toronto as well, but as we all know, Miami Chris Bosh, he was known for doing a lot more of the dirty work on the rebounding. But now we're going to get right into the post right there, immediately fade off of it with our takeover active. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this Paint Surgeon Takeover, I do feel like it's really nice. Obviously you probably won't be able to get it like on a guard because you do need to pair it up with an 80 standing dunk, so probably hard to go for with a guard if you want like a Kobe build with it. But for Chris Bosh for a post scorer, someone that's athletic, definitely useful for us out here as we do hop in the post once again, using that takeover to our advantage. And we're going to get ourselves a nice meter dunk as we spin off the defender right there, completely pushing him out of the way. And now we're going to clean up on the offensive glass once again. We don't even come down with the ball that time as we get ourselves a nice little tip layup right there. And now passing up, being unselfish, we're going to get the ball right back. Another standing dunk animation in the paint with our 85 standing dunk rating, and we're really going to break out the lead in this fourth quarter as we're going to be up by a total of 18 points as we get ourselves once again an offensive rebound. So we get it off the rim. We're going to take that one for ourselves for our 23rd point of the game. And now with the ball in our hands again, we're going to be unselfish this time, pass it over to our teammate for our 5th assist of the game. Huge lead in this one in the fourth quarter, up by 20. One last rebound, one last assist. Why not? With Chris Bosh as we pick up our 15th rebound, tacked that along with 6 assists, 23 points, 10 of 13 from the field. And we didn't shoot any threes in that one. So probably a good representation of how plenty of Chris Bosh's games went in Toronto. And now sliding over to game number 4, we're going to have ourselves a tough matchup in this one. As you guys can see, we're going to be going up against a purple plate at the center position. He was 7 feet tall and he was a post scorer. So a really tough matchup right here for our 6'11 Chris Bosh build. And of course, we aren't going to be backing down from anything. We're going to be trying to get in plenty of touches, going right at him and seeing what he can bring at us on the defensive side of things. So now we're going to pick up a nice little bump steal and look at the speed in transition with two-way tenacity active, looking like a young Chris Bosh right there, breaking out on a fast break. And now, once again, I said we were going up against a post scorer. We're going to play some great defense with our gold paint patroller badge, get a nice contest at the rim right there. We try to rim run, point guard doesn't see us. Eventually the ball ends up in our hands. Immediately try to go with a post fade animation. Unfortunately, we cannot knock it down. Opposing team answers with the 3 ball, so we got to make sure that we clean things up out here with Chris Bosh. Now our matchup's going to get the ball on the wing, going to try to drive baseline. I'm assuming he thought that he was going to get himself a driving layup animation right there, but we cut him off nicely, force him into a tough bad shot right there. So now with a nice little lead on this game, we're going to look to get back involved with the scoring. 89 driving dunk right there. Perfect time to pull out a meter dunk with the height advantage. And now we're going to be in the corner. Center loses us. And of course, Chris Bosh with that smooth jumper, we're going to bury that one in the corner. The easiest spot to shoot a 3 ball, of course, is going to be in that corner. So camped out there, you got to assume we're going to be able to knock those down. Now we're up to 3 assists in the game as we get out in transition. Look at that 79 speed, beating the opposing center down the court, whether we're at power forward or at the center position. I'm very happy with the speed that we decide to go with on Chris Bosh as we're able to follow up that rebound, offensive putback dunk, gold aerial wizard lighting up for our 11th point of the game. Team is starting to break out a nice lead. We have ourselves a 15-point lead, but we do fall asleep in the paint. The center, he has himself a very quick release. It was so hard to contest any of his threes that he got because as soon as he caught it, he would shoot it. So if we fell asleep for even a second, he was going to be knocking those down. But we are going to get back at him as he was closing out right there. We're just going to beat him off the dribble with our quickness. Now a nice contest in the paint right there, protecting the rim, and the ball's going to get passed around a little bit right here. Eventually teammate's going to pass it back out for a 3 ball. We're going to try to follow that one up. Unfortunately, we cannot grab it, and they're going to get themselves a little dunk right before the second half ends. But now jumping into this third quarter right here, our center matchup falls asleep once again. That is just way too much space out there for CB4 as he's knocking that one down. Now a bad pass out of the double team. Look at silver physical finisher in transition. It's just not all dunks out here with Chris Bosh. He was also able to finish through contact with layups, standing layups, driving layups, whatever it was. We have that on our build as well. And now once again in transition, center's not able to get back in time. Any turnovers out here, we are just turning into quick buckets out here with our young Chris Bosh build. As now we're up to 20 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists in this one. And once again, we're going to be playing a little bit more defense to a tenacity. It is active. Throw up a beautiful pass and pick up an assist in the corner. And now at the end of this third quarter, you guys are going to see we're going to hop in the post. You guys remember we did miss that one post fade animation. So this time We're going to fake out the center. He thinks we're going back to another post fake. We're going to play it smart. Give him a little pump fake right there. Showcase the smart moves that Chris Bosh used to play with in the post as we're able to get to the free throw line. Knock down both of our free throws. Chris Bosh free throw animation. Very easy to green light both of those. So now 22 points on the game as well as 9 rebounds. We're going to go to a nice little delayed pick and roll right here. We set the screen. No one wanted to go in the paint. Chris Bosh can fill that paint up easily as we get ourselves a late contest in the corner once again. That center was absolutely knocked down, but it's just not quite enough as we end this game off with an insane standing dunk animation as we get ourselves a beautiful windmill right there, ending off this game with a solid little 13-point victory, 26 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals to go along with it. Opposing center, 22 points. Really good matchup right there. And now moving on to our 5th and final game out here in the random rec. We got to start this one out in the post. Once again, we're going to go to that post fade animation. This time a little bit more of an awkward animation right there. Spinning over a shoulder that's a little bit awkward for a left-hander, but we are able to knock down that one with a green light. Now, throwing up this pass right here, team is eventually going to pass the ball around, find the open man wide open in the corner, and we're able to turn that rebound into points for a 4-point lead on the game. Now, Chris Bosh with a nice lane all the way to the rim. We're going to make use of that meter dunk right there. Nice driving dunk animation out of Chris Bosh as we're going to pick up ourselves our first assist of this game right here. But you guys can see so far in this first quarter, this one is close. We're going to be wide open from 3 though at the top of the key. We're going to be able to knock that one down with gold set shot specialist active. Now a beautiful box out down low with our Chris Bosh build. We're just going to hand this one off. Teammate's going to get himself a beautiful meter contact dunk going down the lane, and we're able to break this lead out to 10 points in this second quarter. Now showing off that 93 block rating a little bit more right there, making up some ground as defense falls asleep. Chris Bosh has got it covered, and eventually that great defensive play, it's going to turn into points for our team as our teammate goes to a nice little drop step in the paint and is able to push our lead up to 11. Now Chris Bosh coming up with a rebound right here. You guys gonna see, I'm just gonna be waiting to see who's open. Actually, no one picks us up. We got ourselves a smooth jumper. This is Raptors Chris Bosh. We're just gonna pull up for that 3 ball right there. That's gonna be money all day. And now we're gonna get ourselves another block on the game right there. Kind of an awkward animation for our opponent. Sometimes that happens in 2K, but we do come up with the block. Now we're gonna get the ball into our hands, get ourselves a nice spin animation, 92 shot close. So we're gonna try to make use of it right there. We do draw ourselves a foul though, which is really nice. And we are able to knock down both of those to push our point total up to 12 as we get yet another chase down block. Unfortunately, this time it does work out for the offense, or for our opponent, I should say, as they're able to get a wide open 3 off of it. But later on, we're going to pick up our 10th rebound of the game, another double-double out here with Raptors Chris Bosh, throwing that one up for our 6 assists on the game. Really playing our role out here, doing everything, all the little things. Once again, protecting the rim, grabbing rebounds, spacing the floor, just like Chris Bosh was capable of doing. And of course, being a good team player, as our team has an insane lead in this game. We have 4 blocks on the game. Chris Bosh running the court right here with 2-way tenacity active. We're going to be able to get involved in the scoring again a little bit more on these breaks as the defense is falling asleep. 18 points in that final game, 12 rebounds, 7 assists to go along with it, 5 blocks. A lot of people ask me, how do you find rec teammates that pass you the ball so much? As you guys can see, it's not every game that we get the ball a lot, but when we do get the ball, we got to make the most of it. And of course, with this build right here, we can impact the game in multiple ways. But yeah, you guys, there it is. Raptors Chris Bosh. This is when he was at the peak of his powers. And as you guys can see, this build is perfect for replicating his game out there. And yeah, obviously we could switch it up in the future, throw on some short hair on Chris Bosh, change the jersey to #1, play like Miami Heat Chris Bosh for the next go around. So if you do want to see more of this build in the future, I will definitely be bringing him out again, just like I do all my builds. So if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button to see more videos like this. If you did enjoy today's video, I'd greatly appreciate if you dropped a like. In the comment section, let me know what NBA player you would like to see me bring to life next. And as always, if you made it to this point in the video, I do greatly appreciate it. It does mean a lot. I really do appreciate all your guys' support and interaction on these videos. But other than that, man, that's going to do it for this one. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.